Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Formula Online Racing for what I'm sure will be some more exciting F2 action. We are now halfway through this F2 season, and tonight it is round 6, races 11 and 12 from the Hungarian. And we may be halfway through the season, but we are still no closer to knowing who will win this championship. If you haven't been with us for the last few races, it has been an extremely exciting season, especially since we've had the triumphant trio of Westy, Lee Findlay and Josh joining the league. They have been superb over the last few weeks since they joined. We appear to be having a few problems with sound. I'll do what I can to try and fix that, but I know it is a known bug on this game, so hopefully we'll be able to get things sorted and we'll be able to hear these F2 cars going around the Hungarian circuit. There we go. So yes, last week it was Josh taking victory in the feature race, with Westy winning in the sprint race. Lee Findlay managed to get a podium in the sprint race, but obviously since they only joined 2 rounds ago and they have won all 4 races between them since then, they are not at the top of the championship. It is in fact Lee Findlay's teammate Andenge who is currently leading this championship on 90 points. 5 points behind is Borussia in the Premier. He is absent tonight, so he'll be dropping further back, and he really could do with some good results. Hasn't had a podium since the feature race in Austria. In fact, out of the last 3 circuits, he's only been on the podium at the Red Bull Ring. Was leading the championship early on, but dropped behind Andenge last time out. Then you've got Flip Flop Fish, forever a consistent driver, the driver with the most podiums so far this season, and he is currently in 3rd place on 78 points, as Droftas taken a very interesting line out the final corner there. We'll go on board with him as he guides us around this Hungarian circuit. First used in Formula 1 in 1986. That was a race I think most famously known for a fantastic overtake by Nelson Piquet on Ayrton Senna around the outside of turn 1, and if we have any overtakes as good as that, we are sure to be in for a cracking race tonight as Droftas heads downhill into turn 2, a very tricky sector of the circuit. It can take a lot of wider lines through there, makes it very interesting for overtaking moves, especially with the DRS. Heading now into the 2nd sector, just headed around turn 4, now into turn 5. Turn 4 fairly straightforward in a Formula 1 car, much more difficult in F2 with the lack of grip and downforce. Into the chicane now at 6 and 7, and then you've got this very twisty last half of the lap, pretty much showing why Hungarian is known as Monaco. Without the barriers, not really an opportunity to overtake around here, but it's a very technical section, and if your tyres are beginning to wear out, you will find yourselves in big trouble. Heading now down towards the final sector. This has also changed slightly since the introduction. It's now just a 90-degree right-hander before you head to the final couple of corners. Left-hand hairpin. Again, maybe see a dive by a few cars late on here in the race, especially in the sprint, where every second counts in what is a 5-lap mad dash, as I'm sure you guys have seen over the last few weeks. Droftas now rounds turn 14, heads across the finish line. It's a 1:31.645. He's the first driver to set a lap. That is instantly beaten by Flip Flop Fish. Great performances by Flip Flop so far in F2, and he's proven it once again there with a 1:30.494. Good marker to lay down. The 2 tyres that are available here in FOR, in F2, are the mediums and the soft tyres. So usually we do have 2 steps between the tyre differences in qualifying. This time it is only 1, so that might lead to a few different strategies to what we see at a few circuits, but most drivers are choosing to qualify on the medium tyres, and in fact Flip Flop Fish looks as though he's trying to go even faster here in the Carling. Hasn't had a win for a while. It was Azerbaijan in the sprint race where he took his first victory of the season. Him and Andenge, if you remember, were in a different league to everyone else at that meeting, but this time around they've got a lot more contenders to contend with. Lee Findlay, Westy currently in 9th place. Joshua is here tonight, and whereas Westy did get his first win last time out, we did see a first podium as well for Aylan, so he's showing some good consistency, as he's also shown on Saturday nights in the F1 League. Flip Flop Fish, he's trying to finish his lap now. Can he become the first man to get into the 1:29s in this 30-minute qualifying session as Westy snatches provisional pole off him for now, but I don't think he's going to be in that number 1 slot for long in the MB Motorsport cars. Flip-Flop Fish comes across the line, and this is a 1:30.284. Still a few cars in the pit lane in this qualifying session. See how Lawrence is doing in the ART. He always seems to be very well matched with Jonathan Cox. I know I've said it plenty of times before, but things just don't seem to have gone too well for him last time out in the Silverstone circuit. He managed to get points in both races, but only a 10th in the feature race and an 8th in the sprint, so only 2 points for Lawrence in the ART. He'll be hoping for a better showing this time around, I am sure, so we'll follow him round now. He's actually invalidated his lap, very easily done around here to run wide, coming out of turn 3 and also through turn 4. That'll probably be the easiest points at the start of this lap. Towards the end of the lap, sort of corner to watch out for in qualifying where you've got to be careful is this corner here, turn 11. It'll be very easy to run wide. Unsurprisingly, he's taking it nice and easy for now. But YBR returning to the league, key worker of course, and not able to make every night. Has got points earlier on this season in F2 in the dams. Here and Paulie Orange will be hoping for good performances tonight. Paulie Orange in the other dams car. He's been very quick in this league, as you would expect from him. Only 7th in the championship at the moment. Got a podium first time out in Azerbaijan in the feature race. That's been his best result so far. His only podium, as YBR has also invalidated his lap. I think just proving what I said about how tough it is. And Westy improving once again, going faster than Flip-Flop Fish. Jompalainen, Univirtuosi, the sole Univirtuosi tonight. He's sort of gone off the boil in this F2 championship, I must say. When I first started commentating with George at Spain, he won that race, looked very quick, but that's his only podium he's had this season. Looked a completely different beast around that Spanish track. He went purple there in Sector 2, but I think that lock-up may be the reason why he went far too fast into Turn 12. That will have cost him some time, so it'll be interesting to see if this is an improvement. He's exactly a second off of Westy at the moment. He's got plenty of time to try and get on pole position and get an all-important 4 points. Let's not forget, he moves up to 4th. Do get 4 points, of course, in F2 for pole position, as Droftas has retired from the session. Where is that? I think we've just missed it, actually. Over on the right-hand side, coming through turn 10. Currently in 3rd place, but you'd expect, as the track rubbers in, of course, for him to move further down the order, so he will not be too happy about that. We'll see if his car is removed before Hibilu gets round. It should be, yep. Just saw the Chiru car over on the right-hand side. Clearly just got it wrong. Perhaps touching the grass on the exit of turn 10, or just being caught out by the lack of downforce and grip. Said it plenty of times on this stream and on the podcast on Mondays. They are completely different beasts, these F2 cars. The drivers won't be as used to driving them as they will the F1, as we see Hibilu go very wide there. Hopefully for his sake that hasn't invalidated his lap in the Arden. Yeah, very different cars, much more progressive with their power. You haven't got that instant torque because there's no hybrid energy from these F2 cars, and much less downforce and grip than you get in an F1 car means it is very easy to get caught out as you're driving around this circuit. At the moment, we're just under 10 minutes gone in this session, and it is Westy from Flip-Flop Fish and Droftas, but Droftas, as we've seen, has crashed out in this session. Be interesting to see where he ends up out of the 13 runners in this session. As he says, who put that wall there? I may have referenced this track as Monaco without the barriers. There are still some barriers, as I think now Lawrence, he's gone round just before that. I'm not sure whether he's done any damage in the ART. We'll have to wait for the camera to swing round. No, he's got away with one there, but it is a very tricky sector, especially if you start heating up your tyres too much. You will lose a lot of time, and in the race expect to see drivers struggle through this final sector and the laced part of sector 2 as their tyres start to wear out. The Lomans, I think, will be heading into the pits. We'll see how George is doing, and you can just see there when your tyres start losing some grip as Lee Findlay goes fastest by a large margin, half a second ahead of Westy. He'll be delighted with that. Silverstone feature race and qualifying didn't really go his way, but he got a good performance in qualifying in Austria. Took the victory there in the feature race. Finished second in the sprint in Silverstone, so he's in a very handy place in this championship. At the moment is Lee Findlay, currently 6th on 53 points. Things go his way, he could well be in the lead of the championship tonight. It'll be a miracle performance, but it is that close that mathematically anyone down to, I think Ayla could even still maybe just sneak it if he had an absolutely perfect weekend, as George moves up ahead of Hibilo into 9th position. He'll be looking for his first points. He admits Silverstone was not necessarily the best performance from him, but he's feeling a bit more confident around the Hungarian. Says he actually enjoys driving these F2 cars, and I have to say I do the same. They are something a lot different to an F1 car, and I think they feel a bit more natural to drive, how you drive most other racing series aside from F1 being the absolute machines that they are. Bailu then, what can he do in the Arden? Can he improve on his time? Very consistent in Silverstone, 11th both times out, so just missing out on getting points in these F2 series. It is the top 10 getting points in the feature race, but only the top 8 in the sprint, and being in the top 8 in the feature is all important, of course, because you will get the reverse grid for the sprint race. The top 8 from the feature race will be swapped round, and that is what determines qualifying for the feature. Flip Flop Fish moves into 2nd place, seeing Paulie Orange going up into 4th, so Droftas beginning to drop down the order already. That early crash robbing him of some practice, and it could make it a very tough weekend around what is a hard circuit to overtake on, as Hibilu moves back ahead of George into 9th position. Lee Findlay, in fact, I think he's just steadying himself now. He's invalidated his lap, so I imagine he'll be heading into the pits pretty early as another car's gone around. That's Jonathan Cox. The ART is not finding a lot of grip. Thankfully for him, that's right next to the pit lane, so he'll just be able to make his way in and get that front wing repaired. 7th place at the moment for him, and he's sort of got under the radar in this championship. The highest placed driver at the moment not to have won any races. Only 22 points off of Andenge. 2 podiums so far, last one being in Azerbaijan in the sprint race. Silverstone again, one of those rounds where a lot of drivers seemed to struggle. He was one of them, only 8th in the feature race, no points at all in the sprint race. If you remember, Josh actually ran into the back of him at one point in the sprint race, and that's what ended Josh's race, with his teammate now coming through sector 1 slightly faster than his personal best. 138.574. Quick reminder, there is no Constructors' Championship, so even though these drivers, some of them will be sharing the same cars, it is every man for themselves. All 13 drivers will be desperately pushing around, as I said, a very difficult circuit to overtake. Ever since they reprofiled it at the end of 2002, Turn 1 is by far the best overtaking opportunity, a much sharper hairpin than it used to be, and with the DRS through Turn 1 and on the next straight as well. I expect to see a lot of battling in Turn 2, as is that Lawrence on his outlap now. So yeah, ART really struggling to find any grip out on this circuit, spinning straight out the pit lane on cold tyres. I can only imagine that being. And he's 10th place at the moment, so he'll be looking for an improvement. Aylan, the only driver who's yet to set a time out of those who have been out on track, and Denge seems to be leaving this very late at the moment. Jonathan Cox is saying there is not much grip out on this track at the moment. Very green at this Hungaroring circuit. We could see a few drivers get caught out. We saw similar in Silverstone in the qualifying session as well. F2 cars in qualifying do seem to be very lively beasts at the rear end. Aylan coming now towards the finish line. He's going to go up into 6th place. He'll be very happy, I feel, with that lap time. As we see YBR in the background, he's just about to start his fast lap as well. Lee Findlay still going around, and he is going around. I think he just went for it a bit too much coming out of the final corner. And just to make things worse, you see Flip Flop Fish steal provisional pole position off him. The Trident having to do a 3-point turn to get out of that. He's damaged the front wing as well. I think I saw a bit of end plate missing from his car. Hopefully the camera will change as we just see that DRS opening on his Trident, and indeed on the left end plate missing. going to be seeing a lot more bits of carbon fibre, I think, scattered around the Budapest circuit. 129.789 currently puts him in 4th place, but Flip Flop Fish showing that these medium tyres will last a long time around this circuit. He's done 5 laps, and that was his fastest lap so far in this session. Westy in 3rd place. These two having a bit of a gap at the moment. Flip Flop Fish and Lee Finlay over Westy in 3rd, but still a long way to go. Of course, it will be the full half an hour qualifying session as we have seen, followed by a 50% feature race, 90 laps, and then a 5-lap sprint. They always seem to be mad dashes, and I'm sure this will be no different. Lawrence just invalidated his lap at the chicane there, very easily done. As Anden's now come out on his out lap, championship leader. He's changed to the medium tyres, half of the session still to go, so a lot can change here at the moment. We'll have to see what kind of job he can pull out at the moment in this session. More yellow flags, and I think that's just for Lee Finlay getting out of the way of his teammate and the other drivers as he tries to recover back to the pits. And that 4 points, if it stays it is from Flip Flop Fish, would put him within 8 points of Anden. So Andens won't want Flip Flop Fish to get this pole position. It's very close in qualifying, and those points at the end of the season for qualifying and the fastest laps, top 10 in each race. Whoever sets the fastest lap out of the top 10 gets themselves 2 points. So all these extra bonus points can make a big difference by the end of the season. Anden's going slightly deep into turn 1, struggling for grip. See, coming out of that corner, we've got another yellow flag. That'll be for Alan. Mate, I think just getting out of the way of YBR, I believe. And then maybe getting a bit of a tow here of Lawrence. It'll be a very distant tow. It won't be enough to hurt him through the corners, but will it be enough to help him on the straights? We'll have to see how he does for the rest of this lap. Can he get up into the 129s? Challenge Flip Flop Fish and his teammate for the front row. Flip Flop Fish showing possibly changing to the soft tyres, and that will, I'm sure, just lead to a lot of cars going on to the softs. And then still slowly catching up to Lawrence. I hope the ART driver has realised he's there, but if Lawrence is on a hot lap as well, he's under no obligation to let the Trident through. If they're both on hot laps, and then she's just going to have to deal with it. He shouldn't be affected too much as he heads through Sector 2. It was a very good Sector 1, but I just feel like I got slightly put off maybe by the ART being ahead of him through that middle sector. So I'll have to see where this puts him. It's been a very clean lap, and sometimes cleaner laps do look faster. Josh has joined, so it looks like he may have to fight his way from the back in the feature race. That is definitely going to be one to watch as Andenge in the Trident heads towards the line, and it's a 130.946, only 11th place for the championship leader, slotted in just behind the Prema of George at the moment. I'm sure he's put plenty of fuel in that car, and he'll be looking to improve as the laps go on. In fact, George is out on track at the moment, but he has invalidated his lap time. Jonathan Cox in 8th place, not able to improve on that lap. I said he's always close to Lawrence, and at the moment Lawrence is just ahead as Jompalainen on an out lap, getting out of the way there, not wanting to be caught for holding anyone up. Has Jonathan Cox gone off again? Has he got any damage? Yes, he has. So that's another ART front wing that is going. Lack of grip, a big issue here, and you can just see there, even as he's putting the power down on the way out on a straight line, the car wanting to get away from him. Not as powerful as Formula 1 cars, but they've still got 630 horses going through much narrower rear tyres than F1 cars have got. So very easy to spin up the rears and get it wrong in this qualifying session where the track seems to be extremely green at this moment in time. Hibilu at the moment. Alan actually up into 3rd place now. Great lap from him. Seems to have got some confidence now in these F2 cars after getting his first podium last time out. Could we see him maybe make the transition and get his first win here in either the feature race or the sprint race? We'll have to wait and see. Paulie Orange 5th, Westy 4th, Droftas now in 6th position, and Denge, as we said, would improve on his second lap. He found another 3 tenths. Has got himself up into 8th position. If he can find another 3 tenths this time around, that would move him into the top 5. And he'll be much happier with that. Doesn't want to be starting too low down in this feature race. It is a tough track to overtake. Turn 1 could be very, very interesting indeed. We'll see if there's any improvement from him this time around. He's slowly improving still, but just takes too much curb at turn 4, invalidating his lap. So he'll have to go round again. YBR, has he got enough fuel in his car to try and improve on what is currently 13th position? If he stays there, he will have just behind and drifts his way through the penultimate corner. And I think that and the low fuel makes him decide it's time to maybe chuck a fresh set of rubber on. Still no one going for the soft tyres. Less than a third of this session to go, and it is Flip Flop Fish on provisional pole position from Lee Finlay, Alan, Westy F1 and Paulie Orange. Yellow flags in sector 2. That is just for George. I think travelling around slowly. He's been in the wall as well. The Prema with more damage on his front wing, and that's quite substantial damage. Is really going to struggle to make it back around there at any reasonable pace. So definitely going to have to pit. Downforce a big factor of car setup around this track. You have to put a lot on for basically every corner of the track, relying on lots of downforce, especially sector 2 from turn 6 onwards. You need all components of the car to give you as best performance as possible. So he'll be heading back to the pits. Lawrence showing some good pace here. Another driver though, turn 4, taking too much curb, and the strict corner cutting has punished him. They're not able to do any virtual GP or esports exhibition Spanish Grand Prix tricks here where you can just make up your own chicane. They are having to follow the white lines strictly, and that's cost a few of them in this session. Jon Polainen, he's improving, taking much less of that curve. That will cost him time. Feel like you've got to just get that absolutely nailed bang on if you want to set the perfect time. He's got 7 tenths to find if he wants to get pole position as he skids his way through the chicane. That's going to be in the barrier. And that is another broken front wing to add to the collection. The stewards are going to be finding a lot of carbon fibre and souvenirs to take home from today. Just seem to lose the rear, heading under braking into the chicane. And that was enough to send him spinning around. Not really much he could do to save that, so he'll be heading back to the pits now to try and get another lap done. Paulie Orange in 5th position. Invalidated this lap. Will he be going for another one? Will he head for the pits for the soft tyres? He's going to go for another lap. We are now seeing the first few drivers head out on the soft. Jonathan Cox, who is really not enjoying this track at the moment. YBR as well, as he tries to improve. A few more in the pits on the soft tyres. So I'm sure we'll be seeing a run of cars heading out. Flip Flop Fish, he's one of them, just waiting. But I think he'll be happy sticking with them if neither of his main rivals for pole position, that being Lee Finlay, Alan and Westy, you'd have to say at this moment in time, change. So Paulie Orange, F1 Championship leader, said got a podium on his debut in F2. He's been consistently in the points since then. Solid, if not spectacular, here in F2. Will he be able to put in a good performance tonight? 2 tenths up in the first sector, so if he can maintain this for the rest of the lap. Could see him challenging Westy and Alan here. Maybe a bit of a jump to get to Lee Finlay. It's just all about how nice and clean he can keep it in this second sector at the moment. No corrections, especially not when we've seen compared to a few other drivers with the steering wheel just changing down gear there, getting a bit more revs out of the corner, and that's a big improvement in the middle sector. So if he nails this final sector, we should see him become another driver in the 129s. It's just whether he can find enough time to challenge Lee Finlay and Flip Flop Fish and get his dams onto the front row. Paulie Orange coming around the final corner now. I'm going to open the DRS as he crosses that line. What time will it be for Paulie Orange? It's a 129.852. Found half a second on that lap, and that is enough to put him into 3rd position for now. YBR in the other dams, he's been off circuit. That's a broken front wing for him. We'll see what Jonathan Cox is doing then. He's now the lead car on these soft tyres. What kind of grip can he find? There you go, 3 tenths in sector 1. Gets away with running wide there, the game, and allowing him to do that. What will have cost him time is this middle sector, where you really expect him to find the extra time, the extra grip that those soft tyres will afford the car. Will it be a second's worth of extra grip to get him onto pole position for now? Lee Findlay's coming out again on the medium tyres. Probably the better race tyre. That's always the strategy you've got to think of here. Do you go for those 4 points? I think it's definitely worth it if you're expecting yourself to be lower down the track anyway and lower down the grid in qualifying. It's Jonathan Cox, 6 tenths up on his personal best. This is really going to move him up the order here. I don't think he's going to be close enough to get to Flip Flop Fish, but Paulie Orange, Alan and Westy are definitely going to be looking over their shoulders at this lap time from the ART driver, as he now arounds the final corner to head towards the finish line. Westy, he's retired from the session. I think he's just done that in the pit lane, as Jonathan Cox actually goes up to second position. Great final sector from Jonathan Cox, just 400ths off what Flip Flop Fish has done, and maybe Lee Findlay and Paulie Orange might have to think about putting these soft tyres out. We're seeing yellow flags in sector 1. That'll just be for him getting out of the way. Did George find an improvement? Not really on those soft, so I can only imagine he's invalidated his lap on those soft tyres that time around. Flip Flop Fish, purple in sector 1. This could very well be the pole lap right here, folks, if he can just keep it nice and clean for the remaining 40 seconds of this circuit that he's going to have left. Bit of a correction on the curb there, but he can get away with that just fine. Still able to make the apex of the next few corners. Just watch him here through turn 11. Yeah, still feeling the need to change down through there just to get that extra bit of the power down. Really need to be at high revs here to keep the turbo running on these F2 cars. We've seen quite often drivers get bogged down at the start. More yellow flags. I think that is again just for the ART of Jonathan Cox travelling slowly. He doesn't want to put too much wear into those tyres if he wants to be using them in the race. As Flip Flop Fish in the Carling. What's it going to be? It's a 129.012. 7 tenths up on his previous best. That looks very good for being pole position in this race. Lee Findlay still finding time on these medium tyres. He carries this pace through for the rest of the lap. He'll still be able to get a front row slot for now, but with Alan, Yubilu, YBR coming out, Paulie Orange is actually, I think he's just moved up now into 4th position, so he's doing pretty well at the moment. He'll be happy with that. George in 7th, moving ahead of Droftas. So the Prema driver in a good position to possibly score his first points of the season so far after making his debut last time out in Silverstone. So what can Lee Findlay do now? Coming around the final corner, straightening up to get the best possible exit. Is it just going to be enough to put him on the front row? And it is. He moves 300ths ahead of Jonathan Cox now to take second position, and I believe that is equal to the time what Flip Flop Fish set on the medium tyres, to the 1,000th of a second. So these two looking very close, as Jon Palainen on the soft, 129.167, getting very close to what Flip Flop Fish did. We're beginning to see a few more drivers now going for these soft tyres, trying to get those bonus 4 points. Less than a minute and a half to go. Westy and Droftas having retired from the session. Droftas having crashed out early on. Westy happy enough with his time for now in this race. Bit of traffic on the circuit, not surprising given this is one of the shortest circuits on the calendar. Lawrence, he now heads towards the finish line. 129.887, 6th position for now. Alan has invalidated his lap. Paulie Orange going again on the medium tyres to see if he can find a bit of extra grip. I definitely think starting on the mediums will be a good strategy for the race. And of course, while we've got all these guys in qualifying, we've got Josh, a man who seems to be all or nothing at the moment in F2. He either wins the race or he does not finish. He's going to be starting from the back of the grid, and if the sprint race in Austria is anything to go by, he's not one to shy away from making some bold overtaking moves. Paulie Orange rally crossing his way around this Hungaroring circuit. He's not been able to improve, and now he's invalidated his lap, so 5th will be the best for him. Yellow flags for cars, I believe, just pulling into the pit lane. George, he's happy enough with 10th. Hibilu comes across the line to take 7th as Flip Flop Fish, I think we've just seen crash out, actually. what there was actually Lawrence involved with that, and Flip Flop Fish there as well. So not sure if there's been any contact made between them. I think we just missed that. Got another car off, and that is YBR missing his front wing. So 8th place going to be the best he can manage. And Denge is currently down in last position for championship leader while all this has been going on. Can he find any extra time on these medium tyres? This fixed setup that all the drivers have to use in F2, they are really struggling with. It just shows how different drivers can struggle to adapt to certain setups and certain tracks not really suited to these default setups. And Denge is not improving at all, in fact, so I don't see him moving any further up the order. Aylan, though, is making some big strides at the moment on this lap time at the moment. Checkered flag is out. Quite a few drivers unable to improve at the moment. We'll have to see what Aylan can do. He's finding some big times on these soft tyres. Can he get anywhere near the leaders and maybe take his first pole position of the season as he now comes around the final corner? And it's a 4th place for Aylan. Very respectable lap time from him. Hibilu, he's not improving. Jompalainen has retired from the session, so that is it for qualifying. And it's Flip Flop Fish taking 4 points here at the Hungarian in this qualifying session. He's going to have Jompalainen alongside him, who's getting back towards his best F2 form that we saw at Spain. And Lee Finlay in 3rd place with a very good lap on those medium tyres. He's definitely going to be one to watch out for over the feature race. Can he secure win number 2 of the season? So the grid then for the feature race here at the Hungarian. Flip Flop Fish will be on pole position. Jompalainen in 2nd. Lee Finlay 3rd. Aylan with a very good qualifying in 4th. Jonathan Cox 5th. Paulie Orange 6th. Lawrence 7th. Hibilu, he'll be delighted with that, in 8th. Likewise YBR 9th. Westy 10th. How can he come back in the race? George in 11th. Droftas, we saw crash out early on. Championship leader and Denge down in 13th. And there will be Josh in the 2nd Univirtuosi as well, starting this from 14th position. Watch out, people. This is going to be an absolutely cracking feature race. I can promise you that. Did see a lot of drivers going off circuit in that qualifying session, so we'll have to see who can keep it most consistent over these 19 laps as the drivers are just readying up now. Do have to make one compulsory pit stop, of course, and use both types of tyres, similar to what we see in Formula 1, and even more so, tyres are a huge importance in Formula 2. These Pirellis that they make, especially the soft tyres, do tend to degrade extremely quickly. All 14 drivers now just getting ready. A reminder of the championship situation after qualifying. And Denge on 90 points. Borussia 85. Flip Flop Fish has moved up to 82 points. There's just 8 points at the moment separating the top 3. Jonathan Cox, Jompalainen, all those drivers not too far behind. Who's going to take all 25 points though? Here in the feature race, the 5 lights are on. When they go out, we're going to be racing here at the Hungarian. It's a good start from Jompalainen, straight away getting ahead of Flip Flop Fish, who's been slightly swamped here by a few other cars. Lee Finlay and Aylan trying to come down as well, but it's Jompalainen in the lead at the moment, as we see that is, I believe, Jonathan Cox going way wide round the first corner. So we see he's in the wall, in fact, I believe. He's just resetting to track, so he's spun around, and Denge, championship leader, involved as well, so chaos for the championship leader at the moment. But Jompalainen got the best start at the moment. He's in the lead. Flip Flop Fish 2nd. Lee Finlay in 3rd. Jompalainen on those soft tyres. They'll wear out quicker, but that gave him that extra grip he needed off the line. Jonathan Cox and Denge both able to continue. We'll see if they've got any damage on their car. I think they both might be having to head into the pits. That's a nightmare for Denge after starting on those soft tyres. We now see Paulie Orange dropping down the field. He's gone off at the chicane, so really struggling with grip, dropping in just behind his teammate at the moment. Good qualifying session from him, and he's dropped back slightly. We'll look at the positions dropped now by the drivers on this first lap. Jompalainen and Flip Flop Fish swapping. Lawrence up 3, Westy up 5, Josh up 7 positions. Usually in a Univirtuosi, showing him in the Carlin tonight. he could still maybe even take a win in this feature race, as Lawrence has ran very wide there out of the penultimate corner. No DRS this time around, but Westy is going to be very close on the run down to turn 1. But at the end of the first lap, it is Jompalainen in the lead. Flip Flop Fish, then Lee Findlay. Lawrence and Westy currently battling over that 4th position. Aylan has got Josh all over the back of him in the Carling. Not close enough to go for a lunge. Very close to running into the back of the Arden. He's going to be wanting to make his way up through the field and make it 2 feature race victories in a row. And of course become the first man this season to win 3 races. Only him and Andenge so far in winning 2 races. It doesn't look like Andenge is going to be able to do that. He's in the pits. Westy still all over the back of Lawrence. Lawrence already more than a second behind Lee Findlay, and that will be crucial next time around once the DRS becomes active. Won't be able to use it, I don't believe, on lap 3 as the detection point is before the finish line, but lap 4 we're going to see a lot more overtakes. With Jompalainen ahead on these soft tyres, so doing something different to the 2 cars behind him, and that will be interesting to see how that pans out over this race. Andenge and Jonathan Cox coming out after their pit stops, and Andenge won't be able to get those soft tyres towards the end, so it looks like he's going to be scoring no points. And with Borussia not here tonight, this is a big opportunity for Flip Flop Fish as YBR is out. I think he's got it wrong coming out of turn 12. No calls there, so won't be able to see what's happened. So YBR out of the race. That does promote his teammate up, but not the way he would have wanted to do it. As we now end lap 3, DRS will be enabled, and Lee Findlay looking very quick at the moment in 3rd place. Lawrence as well showing some great pace on those soft tyres. DRS enabled, and they're all starting to close up. Jompalainen running slightly wide there out of turn 1. That could give Flip Flop Fish the opportunity he needs running down towards turn 2. But as I suspected, not able to use DRS this time around. Is Jompalainen, is he already beginning to struggle a bit on those soft tyres? Running very wide through turn 1, 2 and 3. But they are really the only points on the track where you can overtake, as Aylan has got Josh all over the back of him still. And if even Josh is struggling to make his way through the field, you know it is a tough circuit for overtaking. This could all be decided on strategy, and these two both on the medium tyres. You can see there who are on the softs, and Andenge already wanting to ditch those soft tyres, so he's going to have a very long run on those mediums, and he's got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. This has not been an ideal race, as Drofdas I think has been off circuit or been overtaken. In fact, Paulie Orange has got ahead of him, so Paulie Orange now into the points in 10th place. We'll be looking now to get past George and Hibilu pretty quickly, as well as Josh has gone for the outside, at turn 12. Aylan covering the inside though, still able to hold on to that place, but Josh is going to have DRS heading down the pit straight. Surely he's determined to get past Aylan in the Arden at the moment. He's got a bit of a space behind him back to Hibilu, so he's currently in an Arden sandwich, but this is going to be a straightforward overtake surely for Josh at the moment. He takes the inside line, DRS wide open. He now moves into 6th place, and Westy will be his next target. Very good friends, Westy and Josh, but I think that friendship is going to be put to side slightly on circuit at this time being, as it's still close up at the front of the field with the top 4 separated by 1.5 seconds. Lawrence hanging on to Lee Findlay at the moment, doing a great job, I must say, after a good start to this race. And Jompalainen still in the lead. How long can these two make the soft tyres last compared to those around them on the mediums? There are now only 4 cars on the soft tyres: Jompalainen, Lawrence, Hibilu and Drofdas, and you would expect over the next lap or two their performance to drop off quite severely. Westy could do with maybe getting onto the back of Lawrence, because he's not going to be soon before Josh is on the back of him, and he will have DRS, and we know how good Josh is at overtaking, so wouldn't surprise me if we see a 5th place battle very soon, as Flip Flop Fish is looking determined to try and get past Jompalainen, going deeper there into that corner. I'm not sure if that was intentional through turn 13. We'll have to see as he now heads through 14. Start the next lap, struggling with grip a bit. That's going to give Jompalainen a bit of freedom. He's got DRS, as has Lee Findlay behind him, so maybe this is a chance Lee Findlay needs to try and get up into 2nd place. Is he going to go for a move down the inside? bit late on the brakes, getting slightly crossed over, and that's going to compromise his exit. Lawrence close behind as well. All these drivers getting DRS, and that is helping them defend from those behind them. Lawrence nearly able to take an opportunity there as Flip Flop Fish going very wide again. That's really compromised him through there. Lee Findlay having to get on the brakes. Flip Flop Fish running wide. They're going to be side by side now heading through turn 4. Lee Findlay's got ahead though before the corner, and he is able to take that second position. Flip Flop Fish getting a bit wild on a few occasions there, and that has cost him. He's run wide again, and Lawrence just says thank you very much, and that is that third place. And even Westy, will he be able to take him? He's going to have to try and do outside. He's had to cut the chicane slightly. I'm not sure if the game will allow that. Flip Flop Fish is off circuit, and looking as though he might be able to take the lead on the pit straight. He has now dropped all the way down to 6th position, and Josh right on the back of Westy as well. But Jon Palainen, at the end of all that, he's managed to get a 1.4 second lead. Doesn't want to push too hard and ruin that on these soft tyres. The longer he can get them, the less he'll have to do on the mediums, and the better condition they'll be in at the end of this race. And one thing I do know from seeing Jon Palainen in other series and in the F1 when he reserves on the Saturdays, he's very good at tyre management. He starts the 6th lap of this race, although I think it's going to be a bit harder with Lee Findlay behind him, and Westy going defensive very early to try and break the slipstream, and Josh and Flip Flop Fish understandably following behind. Paulie Orange and George battling for 9th and 10th place. Droftas trying to get involved in this as well. Paulie Orange making his way up through the field. He is now into that 9th position as Droftas trying to take advantage of George being passed, gets himself a 3-second penalty. So things not really going well this weekend for the Chivu driver, as Josh has managed to get past Westy. I can only imagine Westy's got a bad exit coming out of turn 3 there. That's given Josh the opportunity to move up into 4th place. He's got Lawrence just ahead on those soft tyres, which we're beginning to wear, as Westy tries to look at going back into the chicane as Flip Flop Fish has gone off into the gravel. Hamilton-esque to what we saw him do in 2015. He's going to drop behind Aylin, and Hibilu's going to have a go at him as well. So Paulie Orange getting past Flip Flop Fish, dropping out of the points. He is really struggling at this moment in the race. He's balked George quite badly there. Running off again, and George is round in the barrier. The Prema damaged his car, able to carry on, thankfully. But Flip Flop Fish is having a bit of a nightmare in this feature race, just where he needed to take advantage of Andenja's misfortune earlier on. He's now dropped into 9th position, and George able to carry on with just minimal damage to his front wing, as we now see the leaders coming to the pits. Jon Palainen in, Lawrence staying on for another lap, and Jon Palainen's got a penalty. Speeding in the pit lane, that is not what you want to do. You're going to have that added on at the end of the race, obviously, because he will not be taking another pit stop. So that puts Lee Findlay in the lead, and you've got to say in a prime position to possibly win this race. He's got a 2-second lead over Lawrence at the moment. Josh a further 1.25 seconds back, and then Westy Aylin still in 5th position. There's Jon Palainen and Hibilu pitted on that lap, and you can just see how hard Josh is pushing to catch up to these guys. He's got himself a penalty there via multiple warnings. Westy getting one as well. They are really having to push hard, and given how close the F2 field can be, that could cost them a few positions in this race. We're on lap 7 then. To see a few drivers yet to pit, as George I think is really struggling a bit with that damage, understandably, letting Jon Palainen by. So Jon Palainen will be very grateful for that. He's in 9th place, and he now needs to make best advantage of those medium tyres with that 5-second penalty, because he could find himself under a lot of pressure from Lee Findlay, Josh, Westy and Lawrence at the end of this race. We expect Lawrence to be in this lap because he is losing time. Josh already on the back of the ART, and indeed Lawrence does head into the pit lane, so that frees Josh up to chase Lee Findlay at the moment. That gap 3 seconds now between 1st and 2nd place, as Lee Findlay sets the fastest lap of the race, and that is instantly beaten by Josh. Not much between them, only 0.03 of a second on that lap, but this could all be about who keeps it the cleanest. And at the moment I don't believe Lee Findlay has any penalties, but we have seen Josh and Westy both get penalties at the moment. Droftas also in on his soft tyres, so all the soft runners have pitted, just waiting for the medium runners. We'll see where Jon Palainen comes out. Should be comfortably ahead of Lawrence, you'd expect. And indeed, has managed to get ahead of Lawrence. So Jon Palainen back into the next race lead. Lawrence in 8th. Droftas is going to come out behind Hibilo, who's managed to put in a decent performance so far. Hibilo in 9th place at the moment and looking good with the retirement of YBR. And you've got to say the troubles of some of the other drivers. Should be able to get his first points of the season. As George is coming very early on those medium tyres. Obviously with that damage, he will have to put the softs on, but I'm not sure they'll be able to make last until the end. We saw last time out at Silverstone in the feature race, Droftas getting a puncture after only 5 laps on the soft tyres, so things definitely not ideal to pit this early for those tyres, although Lee Finlay did do a wondrous job getting them to last over half race distance, but I think that's going to be a tough task for George, so his attention may turn to just getting a good result in the sprint race, which obviously with it only being 5 laps and the chaos that ensues, easier said than done. Flip-Flop Fish seems to have recovered from his earlier shenanigans as Josh 131.590. He's really pushing hard at this stage in the race. He wants that 3rd victory of the season. Could really do with just putting in consistent performance in both races. That is what you usually need to do to win F2 championships. But with none of the top guys really having a great performance at the moment, Flip-Flop Fish, the only driver in the top 3 to be scoring points, with Andenge down in last and Borussia not being there. Even Jonathan Cox 4th in the championship, down in 11th at the moment. This is a real opportunity for those top 3 drivers to close up the gap. They are supremely quick. We know that before. We've seen that from Josh and Westy in F1, and they're proving their class once again in F2. We're nearly at the halfway point, and it's Lee Finlay 2.6 seconds ahead of Josh, who himself is around 2.6 seconds ahead of Westy. But we are on board with Flip-Flop Fish as he tries to catch up with Paulie Orange, who himself is closing in on the Arden of Aylan, currently in 4th place. On a high, I feel, after his podium last time out in Silverstone in the sprint race, and he's looking good for a decent performance in the feature race as well, as Paulie Orange well held around turn 12. I have got to say, he's done a great job holding on to that car there. These mediums perhaps wearing past their best at the moment. Jon Palainen maybe just having to keep them careful and nice and clean early on. I says as he goes extremely late on the brakes there, locking up the front tyre, locking up the front left again. They'll be unloaded tyre anyway into that corner, so he can get away with it a tiny bit more, but he won't be wanting to do that too much. Needs to take advantage of having fresher tyres than those ahead at this point in the race. He has a 5-second penalty, and Lee Finlay, Josh and Westy will be on the softs and will be supremely fast towards the end. So Jon Palainen, he'll be aiming for the victory, but will that penalty cost him the win and potentially even cost him a podium, with those 3 at the front on the mediums, and Lawrence only 4 seconds behind at this point in the race, as Droftas taking full advantage of the fresh mediums. By far the fastest lap of the race we have seen so far. He really needs a good performance to get some points and keep any hopes of winning this F2 championship. It is extremely close, and with plenty of rounds to go after tonight, we've still got Belgium, Italy, Russia, and then the finale in Abu Dhabi. It really is anyone's guess as to who is going to take this championship. Battle for 4th, 5th and 6th still with Daly, Paul Orange and Flip-Flop Fish. The gap's remaining at just over a second, but as soon as it drops below that all-important 1 second mark and DRS becomes available, things could really spice up for this at the moment, as Paulie Orange again drifted his car slightly. His setup's really proving to be a struggle, as Josh proving he's got life in his medium tyres, 10 laps old, still setting the fastest lap of the race on for 2 extra points if he manages that. But I imagine once these front drivers pit for the soft tyres, we will see that fastest lap drop significantly. Lap 11, 9 laps to go. Still, these front 6 drivers yet to pit. Flip-Flop Fish, after qualifying on pole position, I don't think he'd have imagined he would be in 6th place, the last of those yet to pit. Really just about salvaging something from this race. Hoping for a top 8 finish. If it's in the low end of the top 8, he will get promoted higher up the grid for the sprint race. We've already seen this isn't the easiest track to overtake, so that could be beneficial at the moment. It's currently Lawrence in the 8th place, but obviously he will move up as the others in front of him pit. Westy currently just driving around a very nice race on his own. At the moment is Westy on 33 points. Been very consistent in the feature races so far with 2 7th places. For sprint, so he's had a 2nd in Austria and a victory last time out, and I'd say this feature race is looking a bit better. Don't write him off for a podium just yet, because his pace will be mighty on those soft tyres, as we have seen Josh come into the pit. He's going for the undercut here. Gonna have to do 8 laps on those softs. Did see a few drivers earlier pull out 8 laps, so that should be comfortable, especially now that there's less fuel on these F2 cars. So we'll see whereabouts he comes out, relevant to Jompalainen, Lawrence and Hibilo. I'd expect him to just slot in between Jompalainen and Lawrence, because he has still been showing good pace even on those worn medium tyres. In fact, he is just going to come out behind Jompalainen. There goes the Univirtuosa car in 6th place. Lawrence not close enough, so Josh in 7th, just 2 seconds behind Jompalainen, and we're going to have to see some extreme defending from the Finn if he wants to hang on to this victory here today, especially when Lee Finlay and Westy pit as well, because judging by the gap between Jompalainen and Josh, you've got to say Lee Finlay might be even closer to your Univirtuosa car and may have a chance of jumping him in the pit stops. And surely those front few drivers are going to have to think about pitting now. The undercut extremely powerful in F2. That's promoted Alan up into 3rd for now, and whether he stays there for long with Paulie Orange all over the back of him at the moment, the closest he has been for a while. Flip Flop Fish still remaining about 1.5 seconds back behind this battle at this point in the race. Are we going to see a few more of the leaders pit? Lee Finlay's gone straight on. Westy heads into the pits, and Paulie Orange as well. So Paulie Orange going for the undercut on Alan, and Flip Flop Fish following him. Westy, he gets a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. A few drivers finding that pit lane mark tricky. That's Anden, Jompalainen and Westy getting them now. So I think Westy's chances of getting on the podium or potentially even a win in this race have slipped away now. We'll see where these drivers come out, as Josh already in the slipstream of Jompalainen, and on those soft tyres he's a bit far back heading into turn 1. He just should be able to get a better exit out of this corner though and be comfortably faster through turn 2. Nearly running into the back of Jompalainen there. That's what cost him in the sprint race last time out at Silverstone, as he goes down the inside into turn 2. Jompalainen's going to have the inside for the next corner, but won't be able to hang on. Josh already up into 3rd position as Westy comes out behind Lawrence on the faster tyres, but with that penalty, of course, and Paulie Orange and Flip Flop Fish 7th and 8th at the moment. Importantly for them, getting out just ahead of Hibilu. They won't have wanted to get stuck behind that Arden. I must say, he's still looking good for scoring a point, but he's got Droftas all over the back of him in the Cheroux at the moment. 8th, 9th and 10th, extremely close together. I imagine this is going to be the lap where we see Lee Finlay head into the pits. You can just see on the track map he's taking that inside line, so Lee Finlay is in the pits as Droftas gets himself another penalty, and Alan as well also heading in. So Josh may gain the lead of this race here, we'll have to see, because he has been mighty on those soft tyres, and he was closing up to Lee Finlay before the pit stop. He's definitely closed up that gap by pitting 2 laps earlier. This is going to be very, very close as we head out of the pit lane. Pit stop complete for Lee Finlay. But this pit lane speed limit is going to feel like a nightmare, and I think Josh is going to have done enough here to take the lead of the feature race with 6 laps remaining. He is in the lead. Is Jompalainen going to jump Lee Finlay as well? And he does. So we have seen Josh with that penalty. Jompalainen has a 5-second penalty as well, but Lee Finlay, he'll be hoping to get onto the back of Jompalainen, get past him quickly and start catching up to Josh. He wants to take his 2nd win of the season. Alan coming out there behind Paulie Orange, so the undercut worked out brilliantly for the Dams car. And Flip Flop Fish, he'll be trying to find his way past the Arden as well, I'm sure, for 6th, 7th and 8th position. We're watching the battle for 4th and 5th between Westy and Lawrence on those medium tyres, and this could be a very long 6 laps as Lee Findlay now gets a time penalty. That's just going to increase Josh's chances of becoming the first 3-time winner this season. George in the pits again as Flip Flop Fish has got past Aylin. Coming around turn 5, I believe that would have been, and Flip Flop Fish now into 7th place as he tries to close back up onto Paulie Orange. So you can just see how racy Westy is looking at the moment. It's going to be a carbon copy of how it looks here. The battle for 2nd and 3rd, 4th and 5th, very close. These cars out on track, and you can just see the extra grip these fresh soft tyres have at this point in the race. Lee Findlay doesn't want to be using them hanging them behind Jon Palainen for too much longer. He'll be wanting to get past sooner rather than later. DRS wide open there on the Trident car, and this is going to be a straightforward overtake for him as he now takes 2nd position off Jon Palainen. And further back, Westy going round the outside of Lawrence, who made it a bit more difficult than Jon Palainen did, but he's still helpless to do anything. And Westy into 4th place, and Lee Findlay into 2nd as he tries to close that 4.4 second gap with 5 laps remaining. Does have the slightly fresher tyres, but I'm not sure that is going to be enough to give him the advantage in this race. What could be interesting is Westy going to have enough pace to catch up to Jon Palainen with 5 laps remaining. Croftas in 9th did manage to get past Hibilo, who's now dropped into 10th place. Jonathan Cox done 13 laps on his mediums, and Den's doing 12, so interesting to see whether they feel the need to pit. They can go for the fastest lap, but as they're not in the top 10, they will not get any points for it, and it will still go to whichever driver sets the fastest lap in the top 10, which at the moment is Josh, only man to set any time in the 129.9s, and you can just see how good those soft tyres are. His fastest lap nearly 2 seconds faster than Jon Palainen, who will have set that time on the fresh mediums, I believe. That pace is being shown by how fast Westy has got away from Lawrence. Lee Findlay setting the fastest lap of the race, so he is determined to catch up to Josh at the moment. Westy pulling away from Lawrence, trying to catch up to Jon Palainen. Paulie Orange and Flip Flop Fish trying to see if they can catch up to Lawrence at the moment in the ART. Running in 5th place. Now that he's dropped out of DRS range, could be a bit more difficult to defend from Paulie Orange and Flip Flop Fish, but their tyres will be wearing significantly quicker than these mediums on the ART, and it has been a good return to form this race from Lawrence. Will be picking up some decent points, you'd have to imagine. Top 5 finish still possible, and as I say that, he goes and gets himself a penalty. Compared to most of the F2 races, we have actually seen quite a lot of penalties. Track limits do seem to be a problem for these drivers. They try and especially cheat them through the chicane here and through turn 4. Just get it wrong by a few millimetres. That can be the difference between getting it perfect and earning yourself a penalty. But Lawrence, after a result which I'm sure he'll have been slightly disappointed with, he did get points in both races last time out, but only 1 point in each. He should be picking up more than that today. If he can stay close enough to Westy and Jon Palainen with their penalties, you never know what could happen. With 4 laps remaining though, Josh still 3.5 seconds ahead of Lee Findlay at the moment. Jon Palainen further 4 seconds back, and I imagine he'll be having Westy for company sooner rather than later. Likewise with Lawrence and Paulie Orange, who this time around will have the DRS. Won't be able to do much with it into turn 1. If he gets later on the brakes and gets a good exit, turns 2 and 3 could be very tricky for Lawrence in that ART. You can just see he squirm slightly on exit there, and that's exactly the invitation that Paulie Orange needs. Not thinking about it into turn 2 this time around, and Lawrence able to cut back and cross of the Dams car, so he might be safe for another lap here. We just got yellow flags for George getting well out of the way of these drivers, not wanting to get involved. We'll just follow Paulie Orange. Is he going to be able to have a go into the chicane? Not close enough. Even Daniel Ricciardo would turn his nose up at that opportunity. So another lap. That could be all so important for Paulie Orange. He's 5 seconds behind at Jon Palainen at the moment. And we do know Jon Palainen has that 5-second penalty. That could change a lot of things. But at the moment, Univirtuosi is hanging on to take his first podium since his win in Spain. We've got more yellow flags in Sector 2, and that is Droftas off again. Same point he did in qualifying. Different result this time, but he has now dropped back behind Hibilo, so that promotes the Arden into 9th. Richeroux still in the points in 10th. But his attention will now be focused on just staying around this circuit because he won't be able to close up with 2 laps remaining. Paulie Orangeau a lot closer to Lawrence this time. Lawrence feeling the need, obviously, to go defensive into turn 1. Is Paulie Orange going to be able to just do him all the way around the outside? Nobody gets the switchback perfectly. I feel he's practiced that move plenty of times online before, and he takes 5th position. And Lawrence will now have to turn his attention into defending what is now 6th place from Flip Flop Fish. Let's not forget, started on pole position. I'm sure we'll be gutted with how this race has gone, but if he stays where he is now, that'll be 2nd for the sprint race, and we know he's got pace, so another opportunity for him maybe to claim his 2nd victory of the season. Josh, 3 seconds to gap at the moment, so he's pretty safe for that victory unless he picks up another penalty. Jompalainen and Westy, that has closed to less than a second, so the final podium slot, the Univirtuosos look to shoe in for that since he got the lead at the start of this race. That might not be the case anymore. We'll have to wait and see. You can just see on the track map how quickly Westy is closing up in his MP Motorsport car now. Josh is about to start the final lap of the race. He's 2.8 seconds ahead of Lee Findlay, who has currently got the fastest lap, so he'll be getting 4 points for that. We've got this battle going on now for the final podium slot. Jompalainen not going defensive yet. There he moves across. Westy, DRS open, looks right, then looks left. All the way around the outside, he's going to have to do it. Jompalainen staying on that inside line. Westy's going to have DRS again though, gets a much better exit and takes that 3rd position as Flip Flop Fish has managed to move ahead of Lawrence, and you can see what being stuck behind Lawrence has done to Flip Flop Fish. He was fairly close to Paulie Orange. That gap has now gone up to 1.5 seconds, and Aylin with a lap to go. Will he be sniffing potentially 7th place? He's currently sat in 8th, which would give him pole position in the sprint race, and he got his first podium in the sprint. Could he get his first win in the sprint race this time around? We'll have to wait and see, of course. But out in front, Josh started at the back of the grid, had a mighty first lap, nearly loses it there coming out of turn 11, but thankfully for him, he's managed to keep it pointed in the right direction. And Denge has been disqualified for failing to use the required compound, so that's going to promote a few of the other cars up the field. So we'll be starting from the back. The championship leader is having a nightmare, but Josh has proved that he can win from the back here at Hungary in F2. He crosses the line to take his 3rd victory of the season. Lee Findlay will finish in 2nd place. Westy comes home for his first feature race podium of the season in 3rd. And in fact, no, actually, Jompalainen, he had 1 less penalty than Westy, but Paulie Orange had even less. So Paulie Orange in the dams, he stuck up into 3rd place at the end. Jompalainen 4th, Aylin 5th, Westy dropping 3 places. Said penalties can always cost you in F2, given how close it is. He's dropped to 6th, Lawrence got 7th, and Flip Flop Fish in 8th position. That will give him pole for the sprint race. So for the 2nd race in a row here, Flip Flop Fish will be on pole. Hibilu picking up his first points of the season with 9th. He'll be happy with a very consistent performance in the Arden. Droftas only managing to finish 10th in the end. George coming home a lap down, and it'll be Jonathan Cox to finish 11th in the ART. So those at the top of the championship not having an ideal race. Out of the top 4, only Flip Flop Fish scoring any points in that feature race. But the winner was Josh, his 3rd win of the season. Bit like Thomas in F1, it doesn't really matter where he starts, he always seems to make his way up through the field. That's his 2nd last to first victory in F2 this season. What can he do from 8th in the sprint race? So it was Josh with the victory here in the feature race. That will move him up in the championship. will be very interesting to watch how these guys do for the rest of the season. Lee Findlay managing to get second in the end, and Paulie Orange recovering to third race, showing once again how important it is to keep it clean around circuits such as the Hungarian. Here are the results from the feature race. Josh Fortick to first, Lee Findlay moving up one position, Paulie Orange finishing third, Jon Palainen speeding in the pit lane, costing what would have been his first podium since Spain. Alan coming up to fifth in the end, another consistent performance from him. Westy dropping 3 places due to penalties in 6th. Lawrence finishing 7th. Flip Flop Fish in 8th. Hibilu getting his first points. Droftas spinning like he did in qualifying, but getting away with it this time. Jonathan Cox just outside the points. George was a lap down. We saw YBR retire early on, and Andenge disqualified for not using the soft tyres. What that does for the championship is Andenge is still leading it. Borussia still second. Borussia is actually now dropped a point behind Flip Flop Fish. So if Flip Flop Fish finishes in the top 5, he can take the lead next time around. But a lot could depend on how well Jon Palainen and Lee Findlay do, because they're not too far off as well. As we wait now for the sprint race to start, it is always chaos in this sprint race. There's 5 manic laps ahead of you. We'll have to see. It's looking fairly overcast, but everything should be nice and dry, and they will have to start on whatever the freshest tyres they are that they've got left. If that is the medium tyres, that is a big disadvantage for some of these guys. Just waiting now for all the drivers to ready up. We've seen Josh take his 3rd victory of the season, the first driver to do so. Flip Flop Fish is going to have a second chance of starting from pole position to secure the victory. He's moved up 1 place in the championship already tonight with pole position and an 8th in the feature race. Can he move another one in the sprint race? The 5 lights are on. The sprint race is underway here. That is a good start. Better start this time from Flip Flop Fish. Lawrence getting a bit of wheel spin alongside him, but Flip Flop Fish already feeling the need to go defensive into turn 1. Westy just behind. He's going to try and go all the way around the outside. Josh coming up the inside as well of Lee Findlay and Jon Palainen, but it's Flip Flop Fish maintaining the lead ahead of Lawrence. Alan in 4th. Westy 3rd, Lee Findlay and Josh battling side by side. These have come up from 7th and 8th place. Lee Findlay trying to hang on ahead for now and just managing to do so. Jon Palainen in 7th, Droftas 8th. Paulie Orange has dropped down as we see. Oh, there's a car spin. That is Flip Flop Fish. Oh, again. He started on pole position and things are going even worse for him this time around, as Josh has somehow managed to already get a 2-second time penalty. That might be a record for the quickest I've ever seen in F2. He wants to get another win here, but at the moment he is in 5th position. Lawrence now in the lead ahead of Westy. Alan, Lee Findlay just getting a little love tap there from Josh, and I think that forced Jon Palainen to take evasive action because he's now been compromised as Westy round the outside of turn 10. That's not a passing place. He doesn't care though, and Lee Findlay's thinking the same on Alan. Just a bit of wheel banging between them. That's going to compromise him. Josh trying to get past Lee Findlay, who says, no you don't, sunshine. Forces him onto the grass. Droftas has got past Jon Palainen. Absolute mania, as always, as YBR has retired again. Crashed out on lap 1. It has been a nightmare weekend for him in the F2 cars. But at the end of lap 1, it is Westy, half a second ahead of Lawrence. No DRS just yet. Is still only on lap 3 that gets activated, so they'll only really have 2 opportunities to use it as Lee Findlay looks down the inside of Alan into turn 1. Alan giving him plenty of space, trying to hug the inside line, but that's giving Lee Findlay a better exit. I think Alan's going to have to get pretty defensive quickly to get it ahead of Josh, and he's not able to do so. So they've moved up to 3rd and 4th as Lee Findlay goes very deep into turn 2, but he's able to hold on to that final podium slot for now. But Westy, you've got to say, is looking good at the moment to claim his 2nd sprint race victory in a row. Can Lawrence get a podium? At the moment, as Droftas now gets past Alan to 5th position. We'll look at the positions gained, because he has had a fantastic first lap, moving up 5 places. Lee Findlay and Josh have got up 4 as well, and Denge up 5. He wants to salvage some points for this weekend, make that 6 places. He now moves past Paulie Orange, who has been a big loser. He's lost another place to Jonathan Cox, and they are that close together. It just seems to be, if you get past, that really does put you out of position. We've seen Avon drop 3 places on this lap alone, and that cost you big style. Westy has got that gap above a second. He'll be happy with that. DRS will be activated this time around, but as the activation point is before the start finish line, they won't really be able to use it until lap 4 as George spins right round, baby, right round in his Prema, and he is down to 30th position, but able to continue. Westy, fastest lap of the race. Lawrence in second, not for much longer though. Lee Findlay down the inside into turn 1. Carbon copy of what he did to Alan last time around, but will Lawrence be able to defend from Josh, whereas Alan was unable to? He's got a better chance than the Arden did. Josh though doesn't care. He's trying to go all the way round the outside. If he can hold it on, he'll have the inside for the next corner, and Josh now up into a podium position. We have seen a few drivers do the podium double this season. Dan Murphy earlier on before he had to leave the league. Lee Findlay managed it in Austria, and both Lee and Josh are on for getting 2 podiums out of 2 races here at the Hungarian. And maybe if Westy had kept it clean in the feature race, he'd have been there as well. These 3 really proving to be the class of the F2 field at the moment. But they've both got penalties of Lee Findlay and Josh, so if Lawrence can just stay on the back of these guys, you never know. Jompalainen, Paulie Orange dropping back even more now. Jompalainen down to 9th place. That's Jonathan Cox and Andenge in the points. Andenge trying to salvage something from what really hasn't been a great weekend for the championship leader. We now come towards the start of lap 4. Westy with a 1.8 second lead. Will he just be looking over his shoulder a bit more now that it is Lee Findlay and Josh behind him? And Lee Findlay is definitely going to have to be looking over his shoulder in his mirrors. You can see how hard he's pushing out of the final corner. Josh will have DRS this time around. Is he able to do anything into turn 1? Lee Findlay not feeling the need to go defensive, but I feel he's not going to have that luxury into turn 2. Josh trying to get a better exit there. We're going taking a slightly wider line, and that hasn't really done anything for him, so he's going to have to stay in 3rd for now as Lee Findlay locks up again into turn 2. Not run as wide as he did on the first lap, able to get away with it. Droftas has closed right up onto the back of Lawrence though. This battle for 4th and 5th position. Droftas taking much more of that curve, being much more aggressive. You risk the penalty, but you can just see what better exit it gives you out of that corner. But he's not able to pass at this part of the circuit, so it'll be DRS assisted. He'll try and do it into turn 1, I am sure. As Paulie Orange just got past Jompalainen, and Jonathan Cox has had to completely cut the chicane there. I'm not sure if he tried to get past Andenge and just got caught out. I think Jompalainen, again, you get passed by one car, they all come past you. 12th position, not been the sprint race he would have hoped for. Droftas has got ahead of Lawrence through turns 11 and 12. He's ran deep though through the next corner. That's going to give Lawrence a chance once again. Maybe being behind is the better strategy here because you'll get DRS, of course. We are going to be on to the final lap this time around. Westy with a 1.1 second lead over Josh. Lee Findlay setting the fastest lap. He got that in the feature race as well, so he could be walking away with 4 bonus points from this weekend. Who is going to be in 4th position at the moment? Droftas is ahead of Lawrence, who is ahead of Alan. Andenge and Jonathan Cox too far back to get involved in this battle. Droftas has gone deep and Alan's round. Alan's lost it. He's retired. He's out of the race. Oh, he's doing so well this weekend. That promotes Andenge, Jonathan Cox, Paulie Orange into the points. Flip-flop fish, he might be able to salvage a point from this race. After starting a pole and spinning on lap 1, as Lee Findlay's got that gap to within a second of Josh. Droftas now. Sorry, Lawrence getting a penalty. I imagine that was through turn 4, as we've seen a few drivers in qualifying get that as he tries to close up onto the back of Droftas and runs slightly deep this time around. He's gone wide, and unfortunately, if Alan had been there, obviously he'd have been able to take advantage of that, but not this time around. Andenge too far back to do anything about it. So the top few positions looking sorted at the moment. Westy starting further back, further ahead of Lee Findlay and Josh. Got the lead early on after Flip-Flop Fish spun around, was able to build the gap in the first couple of laps, and it's going to be 2 wins from the last 2 sprint races for the MP Motorsports car. We've got a yellow flag as Paulie Orange has got off the circuit, so Flip-Flop Fish is going to get some points. Westy takes a win. Lee Findlay in second Josh in third. Drofdas coming across the line in fourth position. Lawrence fifth. Andenge will be sixth. That place is taken off him by Jonathan Cox. Flip Flop Fish also takes seventh position, so Andenge does just hang on to a point. Hibilu seems to be very consistent. He was 11th both races in Silverstone, 9th both races here. Jompalainen 10th, George in 11th, and Paulie Orange in 12th position. As we saw Aylan crash out with just one lap to go, and YBR on the first lap as well. But another great performance from Westy. Always seems to keep it clean in these sprint races, and if you do that, you have got a great chance of taking victory. Lee Finley hanging on to second from Josh, and Lee Finley getting the fastest lap again. So it's been 2 podiums and 2 fastest laps for him, and Josh getting the win in the feature race. So he's done the double with the podium here as well. So the results from what was an interesting sprint race there. Westy taking the victory. Lee Finley in second. Josh up to third. Both those drivers going up 5 places. Drofdas going up 6 as he finished 4th. Great result for him. Lawrence in 5th position. Jonathan Cox 6th. Flip Flop Fish recovering from his spin in that race to get 7th. Andenge salvaging a point. Hibilu, Jompalainen, George, the rest of the finishers. Paulie Orange, Aylan and YBR failing to finish. So if we have a look what that did for the points this weekend. Flip Flop Fish getting 35 points, with Lee Finley taking 34 points. Westy getting 23 as well. Flip Flop Fish only getting 10, with Andenge only getting 1. So Andenge now on 91 points. Flip Flop Fish 88. Borussia, despite not turning up, only 1 point further off the championship lead than he was earlier. But Lee Finley now is actually up to 89 points. 87 points, sorry, I should say. So it's very close at the top. You've got Lee Finley, Andenge, Borussia and Flip Flop Fish all within 5-6 points of each other. It's going to be a very interesting championship, especially with the pace that Josh is showing. The only 3-time winner we have had in FOR F2 so far this season. As Westy, we saw in the sprint race as well. He seems to have mastered those sprint races, taking his 2nd successive victory in the 5-lappers. Will he be able to make it 3 in a row next week? You'll have to find out. It is one of the classic F1 circuits. Imagine the opposite of Hungary. We've gone from the shortest circuit on this F2 calendar after Austria to the longest next time. It is Belgium, Spa-Francorchamps, for the F2 7th round of the championship. There will be the exhibition PC race coming from Catalonia this time around. That will be with George and Maku on Friday. I will be right back with George back at the Hungarian for the F1 race on Saturday, and Tuesday we'll see me return for the F2 action. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, MIXT Energy. Use the code FOR2020 to get a 10% discount. The link is in the description, and also there's a description link for Player One Coffee. Feel free to check them out for your exclusive coupon code. But from myself, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time around. Good night.